time. That is about 5:12.
And we like to say that immediately the lecture commences, please let's ensure to mute our mic so that we can all enjoy the lecture. And also attendance is important so that we can have our email and all necessary details for the certificates to be sent to us thereafter. So please, let's wait patience and follow through, even as at the time the attendance will be dropped in the link. Let's take time to register as well. So once again, I welcome everyone to this meeting. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience.
Thanks so much. You're welcome. Come up.
Our guest speaker of today is also special.
Yes, sir. Hold on, sir.
Our guest speaker, you are most welcome. Engineer Aileme Une Igbe. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it well.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
You did not pronounce it well.
Time for the citation. Thank you so much for taking your time to.
Obviously, you did not pronounce it well. Engineer Unu.
Yes, my sister.
So maybe you should try one more time. Let's use 1 minute to make you learn how to pronounce it.
Again, sir, the network cracked, so we didn't hear very well.
I said the name is Enuigbe Aileme. You need to pronounce it properly, or else my brother will charge you. And I'll be a lawyer.
Aileme. Thank you, sir. Thank you, my sister.
You are still going to pay. You are still going to pay.
The Professional Development Committee will bail me out. I have my professors and erudite leaders here and scholars. Thank you, my sister.
You know that song. Lord carry
Please, engineer, let's have the agenda displayed. Let's have the agenda displayed.
Okay. Working on it, ma.
All right, sir. While we are waiting for the agenda display, to welcome all our distinguished members for joining. Please let's be patient. Once we have the agenda display, start in earnest. You are most welcome. And I want to assure you, by the time the lecture will come to a close, we know the time you have taken to join is not going to be a waste, because we definitely receive new directions and impacts, which I'm very sure of. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Grace Amusho. Can we start now, please? Please let us start.
Yes, sir. We Chairman, Engineer Tokunbo Ajanaku FNSF Nice. We want to start right now as we look at the agenda. On the agenda, we have the opening prayer, and permit me to call on Engineer Ifemi Oseki, Engineer Dr. Oseki, to lead us in the opening prayer as he leads us to recite the first stanza of the national anthem. Engineer Oseki.
Thank you, my chair.
Engineer Oseki, it's like your network is cracking. Okay. Please, let's have the third stanza of the national anthem displayed as we all read the national anthem third stanza together to take the opening prayer. So can we, okay. Please, let's read together now. After the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Let's read.
Oh God, grant this our one request. Help to the nation. And so with
Nigeria will be blessed. Amen.
We move on now in the agenda, and of course, next on agenda, we have the adoption of agenda. Adoption of agenda now. So please, let's have anyone on this call to move for the adoption. So also ask for a seconder.
okay.
I, Engineer Udechukwu John, move for the adoption of this agenda for today's meeting.
I, Engineer Dr. Blessing Rubade, second the agenda, second the motion.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Engineer. Now, the third chairman, my national chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Engineer Dr. Grace Amusho. Let's just note that this is the 28th lecture in the series, and in this year we have concentrated on the issue of building rights, moving against this constant building collapse. And I'm believing that in this particular lecture, we will be looking at a very critical aspect of our process for mitigating these collapses, which is strategies for civil infrastructure inspection, so that we begin to know what to look for when we actually go to site. And I'm believing that my very, very capable colleague, Engineer Onuigbe Aileme, will do justice to this topic. And I know that it will be a time that has been well spent. I want to appreciate everybody in the committee for doing a fantastic job of continuously bringing knowledge to us, for both the young and the old, and also for all our members, our friends, and our colleagues who have constantly been our support in this endeavor to make civil engineering practice much, much better in Nigeria. Thank you so much. And in this particular series and even afterwards, I wish us the very best. Thank you.
NC, able NC and leader, thank you, sir, for the remark. Now we move on to the citation of enter as I call on Engineer Professor C. Adejumo help take the citation of the presenter. Engineer, please help us display as we have Engineer Professor Adejumo to help us the citation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. The chairman, NICE Committee of Professional Development and Training, the NC, the DNC, I think I saw someone like him, I know he's in the meeting. The National Schools of a great institution, the chapter chair, and other highly respected civil engineer in Nigeria. We're welcoming us to the 28th technical session, 28th Professional Development Forum of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineer. And like our chairman has said, the 28th series is so apt, and it has been tailored, or we have with wisdom, the Nigerian institution have chosen to, in the series of what the national schools have faced since it came on board on Build Right. Today's topic is strategies for civil infrastructure inspection. What steps and all that. And the lecture will be delivered by none other person than Engineer Onuigbe Aileme, fellow Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineer. The erudite, competent engineer that we have is a great asset. He's been practicing and is a erudite practitioner of civil engineering and in the practice of construction, in the practice of ensuring that facilities are up to date. Engineer Ila, please. Yes, I'm still waiting for that slide, as we have said. Okay, I'm trying to see the screen of Engineer Musa. I know there was a kind of break in communication. But like our NC has done it this afternoon, our people say the taste of the sweetness of the taste is in the taste itself. You won't be able to know unless you have had interaction with the professional that we have today. And in wisdom, the national leaders of Nigerian Institution of Engineers have brought this resource person who has been involved in infrastructure from time to time. He has practiced, he has delivered, he has maintained, and has ensured that the practice of civil engineering is up notch in whatever he has done. Ladies and gentlemen, as our NC wants today on to be so snappy because of the weight of this lecture, please join me in welcoming the erudite practitioner and the one and only engineer, a practitioner, Engineer Aileme Onoigbe. Please join me and welcome the guest lecturer for today so that we can start straight away. Thank you so much. Engineer, over to you, sir. Our guest lecturer for today, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Engineer Dejimo. I would want to use this opportunity to thank the National Chairman and the Professional Development Committee also for this opportunity to share with us burning issues in the practice. So without taking too much time, I want to just jump into it. I'll share my screen and also take this in step. Yeah, just sharing this now. Okay. Can we see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. So this is, well, I would like to also put off the camera so the bandwidth can be effectively used for the audio. But I'll put on the camera much later. So welcome to today's theme is strategies for civil infrastructure inspection. And civil engineer, we cover, I like to celebrate civil engineering every time I have the opportunity. We build the infrastructure of communities. We maintain the infrastructure of communities. We have infrastructure that are from many decades or centuries ago. We keep them and we retrofit them to continue to function optimally. And we also plan new infrastructure based on the planning or the vision of the owners. Be it like in Nigeria, we have most infrastructure get to be owned by the government. I don't think we have much or many infrastructure that is told as such. So how do we start? Let's just go back a couple of years ago. I will be speaking primarily about the overview, what I have as the overview. 2023 annual conference was themed developing infrastructure, sustainable infrastructure for growth. And that's, I was at this conference and in Abuja, and I found it very interesting and apt that we're looking at the inspection of sustainable infrastructure. So I'll speak about 2023, just a summary of what we catalog as parts and some of the things which we discussed at the conference. Sustaining the nation's infrastructure, which is the theme. That's our slogan as NICE. The world's infrastructure, but let's look at Nigeria. How much and how well have we done this? How well have we owned it? The infrastructure that we use on a daily basis, how well have we been able to sustain this? We look at the aging and failing infrastructure. Every infrastructure will need to be maintained. And this would require that as they get older, infrastructure they will need to be looked after and they become delicate. So how are we faring? Item 4 will be repair, restore, and remove this is a slogan I say, if you don't repair it, it's going to get to a point that you will need to restore. But if you get to leave these two undone, there will be a time that you have to demolish the infrastructure because of failure to maintain it. And because we were not paying attention, is taking cognizance of what is happening and how this infrastructure they're behaving. Strategy for periodic inspection. This will be the crux of the area which the vision that we're casting today. The need for regional and national infrastructure inspection database. Many things which I've asked in my practice, in the practice and my career. I've asked, how many bridges do we have in Nigeria? How many are state-owned in different states? Do we have the number of trunk A bridges? Yes, they may have a number, but these are changing as development increases. And then what will be the next steps for us after this lecture? The 2023 annual conference, the theme was Trends in Sustainable Civil Engineering Infrastructure Development for Economic Growth. And what were we talking about here? I quickly put together the summary of what we discussed and the papers that were delivered. I catalog all of them and categorize them as in the following 8 headings. Premature failure of the infrastructure. And the speaker spoke about the pavement, highway, roadway pavement. What is causing it that you do roadways and within a year they are failing. We see many videos and information on social media where contractors would, as it were, playing to the gallery and using what you can't even say material or sub quality material, but doing what should be a barrier, concrete barrier on a highway with almost more than plastering it. Governors will go and inspectors will go and they're told they're just using fingers and wood to chip off on them. And skills improvement and capacity building was another discussion that was had. The speaker spoke about our need to build up capacity to be able to do sustainable infrastructure, which is very important. The focus on material performance improvement. How do we spoke about subgrade, laterites? We've talked about many materials which are in use today. And a regular one that we see is ask a new or a supervising engineer, how do you attain your concrete strength for a building site or an infrastructure site where they're using concrete, reinforced concrete? And everyone just gives that notion of 1, 2, 4 we give you. But the very important component, which is the water cement ratio, is never mentioned in. And so building capacity is building the engineering first. How do we transfer knowledge to the next generation that they may become, the practice of civil engineering may become optimal. Transportation and mobility solutions in Nigeria, another heading of a paper that was delivered. Future trends in ground improvement. Ground improvements for foundation and soft grounds, different types of terrain across the nation. The future trends in ground improvement, the professional perception of new technology, and he focused on the speakers, focused on precast construction. What has happened between 2023? Have we been able to move forward on this to, as it were, take on initiative to begin to look at how best can we incorporate precast concrete construction? Water quality sampling, which spoke about water supply system, and I'll just dwell on this a little bit. Managing road infrastructure, that is highway assets. How have we as civil engineers been able to support this initiative. And on the next, so here today we'll be talking about what are civil infrastructure. What do we, I know that there's a big emphasis on building collapse, which is a misnomer that in the last 10 years, we've just, more than 10 years that we've been having building collapse, but in the last 10 years and in the last number of years, it's become very, almost unexplainable. But I see that civil engineers have not owned it, as well as those practicing structural engineers have not owned their turf. We must find solutions to how we practice so that we can bring, as it were, sanity, and buildings won't be collapsing like the state of it would be eliminated and eradicated totally. So we'll talk about buildings in urban. I want to focus a bit on urban cities and developed areas. Water supply and wastewater disposal system. Many of us also are civil engineers who are practicing in this area, but I see that how well have we owned what has happened to the system? In the last 2 decades or 3 decades, anyone who, 3 decades thereabouts, anyone who is born in Nigeria, pretty much, I accept to live in estates that are highbrow, and maybe you live in the cities like Abuja. Many graduates in the last 10 years probably didn't know that Nigeria had water systems that work. You open your tap and it would flow without you having a borehole in your backyard. What has happened to waste disposal? How badly have we allowed the system to railroad what we have as our core area? Wastewater disposal has become a thing that everyone thinks the best, or what could be the best. Abuja has a sewerage system where they have treatment plants, collect on a global level, on a town level, city level, they collect all the sewage, have treatment plants, and they take care of the waste. But in many other cities, yes, civil engineers are there. We have government offices, but how well have we taken this and own it? We have good designs. Some of us even worked on what I'll say, what I'll call our final year projects in school. We were dealing with or treated areas like wastewater treatment. Roadways and stormwater drainage system, they go together. Every road that is being done around, we find that, yes, we're having open drains. How well have we practiced in our practices? How well have civil engineers supported this initiative, this area of practice? We have auditorium, banquet halls, and entertainment centers have been on the increase. Construction of these because of our culture. And in practice, we ask, who is looking after this when they're done? How do the materials behave? The buildings, how will they behave? Why they're increasingly they're getting older. What do we need to do to keep them in optimal performance state? Harbors, jetties, waterfronts, structures. They're beginning to fail. In the last 50, 60 years, we see that those that have been built in Lagos, we have the Marina area where we had steel ship piles. Big chunks of holes corrosion have eaten into these, and we find that even the supported soil is now leaching into the water, the body of water.
Really?
Thank you. Bridges, pedestrian walkways. How have we maintained this? What has been the level of interaction that we've had with the owners of the infrastructure? How well have we maintained through inspection and knowing, identifying the issues that may require any intervention immediately? Outdoor advertisement structure. Here we have big billboards and they're beginning to fall. They stood for a while, some 1 year, some 5 years, some 10 years, some less than a year, and the windstorm will come and they're down. And we say, oh, there's something about the rainy season. There's something, if they were built well, like many buildings, like many structures in Nigeria, they stood the test of time, but over time, they began to weaken. They began to have the deterioration, which the dilapidation leads to eventual collapse. So we'll look at this, and I'll just speak very umbrella type, but when we have questions, I hope I'll be able to delve deeper. Sustaining the nation's infrastructure. What do we as civil engineers perceive? What do we as our work as sustaining the nation's infrastructure? I put this together. We plan the required supply of civil infrastructure in a city, in a nation, in a region. We begin to find that roadways need to be done to connect communities. We also find that communities need to be developed, housing, interaction, entertainment, socials, parks. So we design the civil infrastructure. As we go with the roads, we also go over wetlands. We do bridges. As we go over that, we go over even land bridges that you have flyovers. You have quite a number of them in Abuja, and made it the leading cities with more population, and Port Harcourt and the likes of them. We do the development of civil infrastructure, and by this I mean we have construction. Who is handling the construction? Who are the contractors? Who are the designers? Are we transferring knowledge? In the last 40 years, who has been in the forefront to challenge and to see that the younger engineers are getting the required knowledge that will strengthen the industry? The maintenance of this infrastructure for optimal performance. These are all part of how we sustain the infrastructure. And I put there that the above, which is the maintenance, includes inspection of the infrastructure. When we inspect the infrastructure, we find that we can catalog what and how the infrastructure is performing. When we have defects or developing deterioration, we can quickly address, nip it in the bud, as it is usually said. We identify and we can take care of it. We begin to plan maintenance and we budget for it. Usually it's on an annual basis. The stock of major civil infrastructure are owned by government. They're capital projects that are usually developed by government, except for maybe building or housing. And I dare to say that even now, we will begin to have, very soon, we will begin to have roadway and highway infrastructure. Water supply infrastructure will be done by estates, will be done by owners, infrastructure owners, who are working on concession basis. We also plan the rehabilitation. So when we do a building, when we do an infrastructure, we should have, it is our responsibility as civil engineers to be able to put together a forecast of when there would need to be an intervention or the replacement of that asset, be it building, roadway, bridges, pedestrian bridge, sign structure, advertisement sign structure, highway sign structure, what have you, which builds the system. We should have a date that we would need to replace, because everything has a shelf life or shelf life, which we will say, what is the life of this building? What is the asset life cycle when we have to put it down and either take it away? Aging and failing infrastructure. I would just say a few examples. Yes, Abuja was built a few decades ago, but we have infrastructure that is continuing, and we also have infrastructure that have been built, new ones that have been planned. But let's come back to cities that were built or they were founded many years before then, like Ibadan. We have roadways, which have been the same roadways in size, and the infrastructure has been there for 60 years, 70 years, more than that, 80, 100 years. And what has happened to it? What is the story of this infrastructure? And that's what we call the aging. Yes, the aging, every nation in the world is visiting their infrastructure. They actually have what is called the scorecard in the US. And this is championed by American Society of Civil Engineers. I find it very interesting that, yes, we have a paper, we have a booklet which was done at a time. But I think somewhere in the line and somewhere in logistics, it was the infrastructure scorecard for our infrastructure in Nigeria. Somewhere it was just missing in transit, or it was there was bottleneck and it stood somewhere. But I dare say this, that as NICE, Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers, we have the clout, we have the voice. We can stand to say this is what we're presenting as a white paper. We can give government this support that it needs to know what and how they're performing, as these are capital projects headed by and owned by the governments in different categories, from local government to state government to, they own most of the whole highway and road infrastructure. Even if you do them as individual, they would refund back some money at calculated expenses, and they own it. You can't have NEPA pole and cables bring power to your house. It transforms, or it transfers to the ownership to the state. Or I don't know how that would be now, to the discos or to the, but it transfers even though you brought them and you have to take. But what happens with time? What are we doing? We find that in the UK and Europe extensively, very old infrastructure, bridges, they're rebuilding. Some they keep for heritage to tell the story to the coming generations, but they reduce the usage. They reduce the load rating. They reduce how much axle load can go on those bridges because they're just keeping it, but they build new ones, new infrastructure. And sometimes they even have to retrofit to make sure that the aging infrastructure will still be able to give good performance for many years and decades to come. Infrastructure defines communities. If a community is said to be highbrow, it's because the infrastructure in that community, in that state, in that it meets the demand for lifestyle, economy, development, the daily and the state need for the people. We're looking at the people, the people, the people. We're serving the community. We find that they need housing. The state makes preparation and they do what is usually called, they make the state ready to do business. They do the infrastructure, or they own the infrastructure and advise or award to contractors who are supposed to have knowledge of civil engineering. So optimal operation of the systems that I've spoken about. And I would want to just limit our discussions today to transportation system, housing, water supply, sewage disposal, and maybe a little bit on solid waste management. They're all civil. Civil areas where we deal with civil infrastructure. I would also want to just add stormwater, which stormwater management. Many areas of Nigeria are having very heavy attacks of erosion. The management of the stormwater has failed over the years, and we find that this has led to destruction or collapse of those infrastructure. The cost of replacing, of course, it's unimaginable. The planned and phased development of new infrastructure, as we begin to find obsolescence come up, I just put it in the next, or we find that infrastructure is deteriorating. There are two words which I find we need to keep before us as civil engineers. In any way we look at infrastructure, is one of the two. When we find an existing infrastructure, a time will come that it will become obsolete. Obsolete doesn't mean it has collapsed or it's deteriorated to a point where we now call it. No, obsolete just means it's not meeting because of, it's not meeting the use it was designed to contain, to serve. So take, for instance, information gathered and on the Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos, Nigeria. When it was built, it was designed for 17,000 vehicles. This is forecasted. It wasn't even what was designed like optimal. This is it. Effective day one, you will have this. 17,000 axle. Axle load would be, let's say 17,000 cars. Let's just leave it at that. But now, on a daily basis, all right. On a daily basis, we have tens of thousands, multiples of that number. We're not talking 100,000 axle. We're talking hundreds, tens of hundreds axles using it. Now those in structural, we'll talk about what is called fatigue stress and cyclic loading. This is what we did. This is our area. So obsolescence would mean we need to, is obsolete, is not meeting or is not able to meet the need and the requirements of the people, of the users. Take, for instance, also housing. Let's say in Nigeria, we need such and such. It's almost very ridiculous when we look at the number, or we need 20-something million housing, and we have just about 2 million. And I said, so how do we, what are civil engineers bringing forward to say, how do we, as civil engineers, bring solution to the housing problem? The ones that are existing, how and what is the state of this infrastructure, building and housing infrastructure? We have left this to all comers. Anyone wakes up tomorrow and say they are now developers. We're not owning. So these infrastructure that define the communities, like I said, the stormwater problem in many cities. We're having flash floods. It meant it was not designed for, because everyone goes, oh, it's a flash flood. A flash flood can happen anywhere. And I said, there's what is called flood routing, to just delve a little bit into civil. There's what is called watershed. There's what is called, and as we develop the areas which are supposed to be our waterways or wetlands, we have to make provision to channel the water that will come out of that development. Our roads are getting flooded. Even bridges, overhead, bridges are getting flooded because we have not paid attention to one important phenomenon, which is inspection of these. So repair, restore, remove. Why do I use this word? if we find that we don't repair, sorry, I'll just backtrack. I did not explain the last word. Obsolescence and the replacement usually gets to come to play when a deterioration gets into a dilapidated state that is almost too expensive to fix, and we have to go and we have to put it down and redo or do another structure. Now, many of what I've seen practicing civil engineering in this nation has been a reactive response. Yes, we may see it happening, but we wait for it to get to the point where the dilapidation gets very bad. A few months ago, there was in the social media and disseminated information, and so many of us saw it. Oh, the portion of Third Mainland Bridge is going to be closed because they need to fix a portion, from Oroshoki to like K2 end. I passed there and I'm always, I feel the discomfort in my car. Everybody feels it, but we have not raised a voice, our voice as civil engineers. It was said that they would close it and fix it. Of course, there was a lot of noise. Why are they doing this? Why? But I passed the place and a gap, what is supposed to be a joint, deck joint, not more than maybe 4 inches, that would have a strip seal or a deck joint material, has now become almost 1 foot. We drive over it and we don't even feel the urgency and how very bad. And I know that this occurs across the nation because we don't own it. The owners have not, they have waited because of one problem or the other. There has had to be a maybe political, maybe budget, maybe whatever it is, has delayed the repair. It gets to a point where we may have to replace if things get very out of hand and very bad. Repair is always necessary. Even for a grinding machine, for pepper, you need to replace and repair. For a vehicle, you need to change brake pads. There is what we do on a regular basis because of our evaluation of a system. The same thing occurs with every civil infrastructure. We need to check. They tell us the story and they use the word. The artisans we use, we want to maintain it for you. We want to do maintenance for you. But the maintenance would only be possible when we have carried out an inspection. Who is most fit to carry out an inspection other than the proponents or the ones who designed it? We restore the states. We restore these machines to be in good state, good state of performance, and also performing optimally. Sewage system. An open sewage, I mean, it just beats me. Almost every community is doing, everyone who has a personal building has a sewage tank underground in their compound. And when it gets full, somehow they find their way onto the common drain. Now, government is they're making the law. I saw on social media a few days ago, it's now law and it is under section A, B, C, D. And I said, what have we done? We have forced the people to do a sort of solution which looks like engineers have not come to terms to say this would work, this would work. But I see that in the near future, there will be a lot of challenges on each side. There will be a lot of discussions on both sides, the authorities having the jurisdiction and the professionals and the owners. When we have to remove a structure and infrastructure, it means that it has less than 25% reliability. It really has to, like a tank, elevated water tank, 100,000 liters, and it's leaking on site at the bottom, you pump water and into something that's supposed to last 4 hours, 6 hours, or 2 days is lasting only 30 minutes because it leaks away. How did we get to that point? So we find that we have to repair. Interaction of systems necessitates periodic repairs for a maintainable infrastructure. If we don't carry the necessity of water going through the pipes, and the pipe is, say, steel, it's carrying oxygen and it's carrying what will bring corrosion of those, we must check it, or else one day it gets to the point where it begins to give not just an indication, it gives the results of what has been happening. Every infrastructure has a design or performance life. Engineers should be able to state what happens to infrastructure with time. We take the highway. The day it is opened and the executive person comes to cut the tape. And then we realize that the bridge approach begins to sink. The abutment is okay, the bridge is okay, but the approach begins to go down because of poor workmanship and maybe poor material usage, poor compaction, and we find engineers have to be pointed at. You did not do a good job. But what and who would be able to tell what and how we deal with these issues? So there is need. Every infrastructure has to have a plan for inspection and for infrastructure. Optimal performance requires periodic repairs because with time you find the wearing surface, what is called the wearing surface of roadway, would also wear away. Sometimes we have cracks along the pavement, and those in highway will be able to tell many more things which happen to pavement. And water gets into the sub-base and it cannot drain away, it expands and it makes it soft. A lot of things, the structural base becomes weak, and then potholes and all this stuff like this also develop. What are our plans for rehabilitation? And for areas where we have to replace, what are the plans that we have should these things happen? I've seen where an entire retaining wall for a bridge has busted out because wires that were used to support mechanically stabilized earth retaining walls, which come in panels. For those in Lagos, as you go through the underpass at Maryland, you'll see those walls, part of it are mechanically stabilized and they're pulled into the soil behind. And when they fail, the entire retained soil will fail, will pour out. What will be our plans for it? Strategies for periodic infrastructure. Yeah, we're looking at time. We spent 1 hour, but since we began, but I'll rush through this and let's just keep our questions. We'll take that at the end of strategies for infrastructure inspection. So I put this together for us from the many years of experience I had in infrastructure, highway infrastructure and transportation infrastructure development and area of practice. Every infrastructure requires the gathering of requisite data, not just any data, the data which informs the reliability and the performance state of this infrastructure. I must be able to know what is happening on every infrastructure. It must be a priority for us as practitioners and also infrastructure owners. Like I said, most of the infrastructure is owned by government and on different levels. The data gathered is required for repairs, budgeting. You budget it for every 6 months, every 1 year, every biennial, and for execution of the repairs. Recently, we also know that some things happened, and Carter Bridge was also mentioned along with Third Mainland, along with, I think, Eco Bridge. They needed to do major repairs and some of us may have seen, some of us may have read. It was very, just like the Independence Bridge. It got to a point where the approach slab was already sinking. And driving across the bridge from the approach highway or roadway became very uncomfortable. And you actually feel the vibration at the steering. We didn't have to wait. It meant that information was gathered, probably, and maybe it was not acted upon. Repairs execution presupposes the previous data gathering from infrastructure inspection and investigation had been carried out. Because for us to have repair, it means someone who has knowledge of how the performance of that will be it a power plant, be it a pylon, be it a telecoms tower, be it a building or a bridge, highway, water treatment, all the sectors which I mentioned. It means someone with requisite knowledge and experience had been able to look at it and inspected and written that this needed to be done. Then there will be cost, budgets for. Inspection data definition is vital as this defines the parameters which is used for performance evaluation. We just don't go and say it is solid. We say the percentage of what is left in the capacity. And this is how we define reliability. Yes, this is done usually by top level management, but the information gathered is usually headed by middle level field officers, and we need to train those to be able to gather the right information. Everyone who is looking at a building, and when I say buildings, I'm actually referring more to public buildings, government-owned buildings, our libraries, what we have as our joint heritage, what is happening to them, our municipal government areas. I got to a municipal government area in Lagos and they said, do not go in, earmarked for demolition. I couldn't just understand how that will be. What I mean by this is, how did the local government office get to the point of disrepair? These are the people who really would have a town local government engineer, and they would also be able to budget and look after us. If they're, for those who know, on the way to Ikeja, the police college was left for, somehow it looks like nobody was living there. People were living in dilapidated. There were so many visible cracks that told stories of imminent danger. Inspection data definition is very, very important. And it is civil engineers who have designed, constructed these with experience that will be able to carry out this operation. This data gathering requires that we have to train and retrain and retrain. The workforce, we have to build capacity that people will, the younger engineers will know about bridges. I said to people every time I have opportunity to speak, I'm a bridge engineer in some sector of the world, but I practice as tunnel heavy infrastructure, what they call heavy infrastructure engineer. And I found that this whole work called highway, called very, very small local impacts, local training of local engineers have really been impacted in the last 5 decades. We ask ourselves, how many highway engineers who have designed bridges? You almost find that none, because the patronage has shifted, and because most of us civil engineers focus on, I would say, building structures, because the private sector is where most work. And we find that we just gravitate towards, there's no job, this, but there is responsibility. The gathering of and the training of those who are coming after us. So the strategies, bridge components, I'll speak about transportation infrastructure quickly. Bridge component inspection every 2 years. what are the things that we check? Those of us practicing in the bridge, maybe Federal Ministry of Works and House Works now, the State Ministry of Transport, they usually will have city engineers or highway engineers or structural engineers who are in charge of the bridges. And then they have highway engineers who are in charge of the pavement. What are you reading? What data are we gathering? I drive in Lagos, I live in Lagos, and I mean, I've just taken it as, it has become part of the norm that we drive on very poor road. The roadway, the driving surface is just not there. But they say, oh, we have roads, it's tarred, is no potholes in it. It's not just potholes. There's a number called IRI number. The IRI number, those in highway will know, it measures the roughness of the surface. In every 1 meter, it shouldn't be more than maybe 2 mm or so. You'll find that in our roads, sometimes we have 50 millimeters between one, I mean, you just have all sorts. Now, we have to gather the best practice and begin to build right. We begin to practice right. And this is one of the things which we need to, for every bridge component, we have the bridge deck, the superstructure, the substructure. Every bridge that is, I've inspected a number of bridges around by proxy. I also work with those in that industry sometimes to carry out inspection. And I ask, who is looking after? How have we impacted the next generation? If I don't work in Federal Ministry of Works, can I learn? Is there a way I can be a consultant, learn to be a consultant to Federal Ministry of Work to be able to carry out work and train those coming? Highway pavement inspection before rainy season and after rainy season. We should have enough budget for this. We may not have the capacity, as in the number of personnel that will do it within the government offices, but we have civil engineers. We should not lack job, and we should not, as civil engineers, lack any commission of work, because there's more than enough infrastructure which we look after. Annual inspection of pedestrian bridges. This is not just in Lagos. We have quite a number of Lagos, and quickly we find over the last decade, oh, still pedestrian bridges are not good. They're not economical. They're either too expensive or too, and we hear of such things. And I said, this is not true. This is definitely not true. Then we hear, let us just do concrete because we can forget and leave it. We don't maintain it. Oh, we're joking. Over time, there's going to be phenomena like creep, pre-stress losses, and all the likes that would affect this infrastructure. The cost of replacement is too big. And I think NICE as an establishment organization also needs to put under the umbrella of NICE. We begin to fund initiatives to be able to not just training alone, but carrying out the work and engaging a conscious plan to engage companies and to also transfer the knowledge and developing a database. Annual drainage channel inspection and biannual desilting, sorry, not desisting, desilting operation. We find in riverine area, there is always that problem that we find, which is flooding and blockages. It's usually just before rainy season that they want to do it. And I said, no, it should be after the rainy season, you should move immediately. When I was the road asset manager for a highway, and we had 27 bridges, both driving to and driving back. And we have high sign structures where in the tens of numbers, which we have to look after. Immediately, we finish the snow season. Snow season, we have to do what is called salting. So you salt the road so that the snow can melt and you can sweep it away. You sweep out and you have to do quickly cleaning off and inspecting immediately to see what could be affected, and we do sealing. I have never seen where they're sealing, but I see painting of the bridge barriers. I see replacement with some And I'm asking, where are the civil engineers? Are these really civil engineers doing this? Yes, we have some expatriate companies, but we have to get involved. NICE has to get involved. We have to own and we have to challenge, if need be, challenge the status quo. We want to be engaged. We have trained our people. We have brought them to the level that they can harness and build and own the infrastructure. I say for buildings, there should be like every 5-year evaluation of public buildings, even if we don't do private, public buildings and community infrastructure, emphasis on building services and structural systems. How are we faring with this? We'll wait till that. I read something on NICE and on a group that Lagos State is pleading with the owners to beautify their buildings that are on major highway roads. And I said, there will need to be some, not just a frivolous initiative, there will be legislation. There would also be, in my opinion, there should also be a way of giving credit to those who carry out this. Like, yes, you will have a discount or something on your tax charges. If you do this, Lagos State would, or the state would do this and give you some incentive. We incentivize the people to do it. Not that we just, because there are many issues and many reasons why that may not just work like that. Strategies include implementation of mandatory inspection reporting of transportation infrastructure, such as car park. It doesn't matter if it's owned by private, as long as there's a public part of it. The government, the state government, can partner with NICE and will seek to make sure that this information is carried out. There will be a back charging of some sort. There will be, because service is given, and all of that we'll be able to track how our car parks are performing. Are the owners making good investment in the inspection and update? The airports, the train terminals. You find that the train tracks carries the vehicle, but the train terminals become very forgotten. The waterfront structures, all our harbors, jetties, we want to make sure that those who own them have a mandatory reporting, maybe on a yearly basis or half yearly, but we have many restaurants or clubs or entertainment infrastructure where they are not even paying attention to the jetties, either private or public. Continuous periodic inspection reporting over time helps us in the acquisition of a progressive assessment of a piece of infrastructure. So we know, I'll just use a pothole. There's, as we inspect a piece of highway from Ibadan from Lagos to Ogeri, let's say, we notice at kilometer this, kilometer that, there usually a repair, a deterioration, and we have to fix it every season after rainfall. That already tells us a major story about the construction. In a period of 3 years, 4 years, you will see, and we will be amazed at the information we've carried on infrastructure components. Things like bridge components, the bearing, the substructure, piles, steel piles inside water. You will have information to be able to forecast development of a budget to focus on fixing it. And I believe this is being carried out very well in our ministries, but we must get involved as NICE. Very, very important. There is also a strategy to development of framework for accountability by different MDMs to mandatory inspection reporting to supervising ministries. That means every local government, every MDA must report to an accounting body. in participating with the MDAs, we're supporting them. We're also carrying out a portion of work because we know that government can only employ this number of personnel or professionals in their own. But we can, as private sector, partner with government and develop framework that we will be able to keep and build the database. Together, we can know and build to maintain. We build, we maintain by inspecting and knowing that this is about to happen, this will happen in a certain future date. The need for national infrastructure repairs and maintenance requires annual budget per period of time, usually regional and roads cut across many communities, many states, but we don't stop just on one end. For federal roads, we find that we need to develop we need to catalog and keep the database. Our infrastructure serves community and are part of a network of national grid. Both roadways, water, sewage, road link communities, and bridges link highways. Pavement, how we must build a database of the number of bridges in a local government, and we classified all local governments would send these results to state government. State government will work with maybe the likes of NICE, and we will be able to transform this because the state will own majority of the roads in the state and will be able to evaluate and get the story of data. We're living in a data age. The data is what gives us so much information to act upon. This is the age of the wealth is built by data. And I believe NICE can spearhead and champion this, that we build a database of inventory it cannot be overemphasized, be developed, as this tells it tells the story, our infrastructure history and performance. And it also helps with projected decommissioning dates. We have to pull this down. We have to do something bigger. The road is obsolete. A one-lane bridge is not needed now. We need 4 lanes. It's now obsolete. Can we attach to it? Or do we need to, what will be the economic impact to pull this down? And all such development. It provides, we have to reference for the body of knowledge. The coming engineers who are just leaving school, the intermediate, the junior engineers, we have, what I may say, the much older engineers who have been in this practice in different areas, those that we have not been very active in, we have to resuscitate and we have to begin to build up and transfer this knowledge, seek for ways and methodology to transfer this knowledge. This will go beyond just a 1-hour seminar. I mean, we will employ staff, we will put younger engineers in a way that we consciously plan to put the knowledge to the next generation. There we also save foreign exchange of employing foreigners and foreign practitioners, engineers to come and do this. The body of knowledge needs all the information. How do we do budgeting? What do we do as costs? There's enough work to do rather than we fold our arms. Provision for budget tool. When we carry out inspection, we'll be able to advise what should be done and the cost to do it. And these are numbers which are supposed to go to House of Rep, the Senate, they pass the budget. Let's leave all the issue of malpractices. At least let's see that we're doing the right thing. We're seeking to do the right thing and we're getting the budget right. Then we'll be able to hold and carry out more other things which are required. And these are the strategies that some of the ones that I've put up, and these have been from experience and what we see. What are the next steps? Quickly want to just look at 4, 5, 6. A database of inventory must be developed for every piece of infrastructure. Take, for instance, Lagos. We must know all the bridges. Location, every bridge must have an identification number. Every bridge must have components, ratings. What is the reliability? What's the load rating? What is the load that it can carry? And then the state of that infrastructure. Or the barriers, are they guardrails have been taken away. So we know that in the next year or so, we have, how important is this? The gap between the joints is increasing. It has become 25 mm. Now another year, it's become 40 mm. We can project that in the next year is going to be this. So there is need for us to fix it. Repair plans and procedure to support infrastructure owners. So we go as NICE, develop from our retinue and our broad body of knowledge and experience across our practices. And we will develop white papers on how and what we're looking for, the checklist, the inspection manuals, and we also have a plan for repairs. Upskill and capacity buildings of our professionals. Many young people find that they only find jobs in building practitioners, structural and construction. But I want to challenge us that, hey, there is also stormwater. It's become a big headache in our urban centers. As the information, every building, every estate is in Lagos that you can visit. Everyone is doing joint venture. Old buildings that used to be single, we started with Surulere. Old buildings which were single units and they had a bit of compound have been reconstituted to become 6 flats, 8 flats, 10 flats, multi-level buildings. And it means that we have more usage of sewage. What has happened to what was there, what was provided? We have to revisit and we have to find solutions to this. Cooperation with infrastructure owners to develop inspection periods for maintenance work. Very important, and it is job creation even for us. We will have a lot of support from the national body, and we can put this across the 6 geopolitical zone where we develop both capacity and also helping infrastructure owners to build right, maintain right. Publicity of this importance of developing a maintenance culture. Yes, Nigeria does not have maintenance culture. That's what I keep hearing, and I challenge. And I said, we find that we know we have to have an inspection at some time. It doesn't mean that because the owners did not carry out inspection, that we don't have a culture of maintenance. It's just that somehow our priorities were put wrongly until we have either a fatality and some level of replace, then we blow the horn. Of course, public outrage and all of that. Independence Bridge, many people could not get home. You closed at 5, this bridge was closed around 2 o'clock, and some people slept at the office. Those coming from Ireland, the backlog affected Ikeja, affected Lagos. I just thought this is interconnected, and we have to know that it is our headache to deal with urban sprawl and super development. We create committees from now, and I want to play with the professional development and also the national chairman. Now is the time to have steering groups in the regions, and let's have it as part of the reporting system on a yearly basis. How far have we gone? How did we interact with the government, and how government or owners of infrastructure, and how well? I know that Lagos has initiated what is called the CAP, Certified Accreditor Program, which really is bringing the private sector to also look at building inspection, new and existing building. I want to draw the curtains, and I thank everyone for this time. I can take a few questions. Thank you very much, Chairman, and also the National Chairman.
Thank you so much, guest speaker. Yeah, Uigbe. Thank you so much. Lecture. Agree with me. Our guest speaker done just, and is indeed the right oh. Thank you for your time. At some with questions, reactions, we need response from our national chairman of the team. The NC, sir, team, but we are
Thank you
members.
very much. Thank you so very much. A lot of learning, a lot of questions have been asked by the presenter that requires all of us to begin to see that, yes, there is so much for us to do. Engineer Onuigwe Ailema, I cannot be too effusive in saying thank you. Thank you for this eye-opener. Indeed, it's been a wonderful time. I will yield the floor to the Professional Development Committee so that those that have raised up their hands can be attended to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my national chairman, sir. With the permission of the NC, I recognize Engineer Hussein Abdullahi, your comment or question, sir. Engineer Hussein Abdullahi, on mute.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers of this incredible session. I must say thank you and thank you. My question is not, actually it's not the question, rather the request. I used to attend the development lecture. So every time I finish attending the lecture, I used to maybe request material, like for example, the presentation. So we don't know where to have it after the session. That is all what I am trying to request. Thank you.
It is noted. Thank you. Engineer Ayegusi.
Thank you very much.
Chapter. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate our NC and I want to appreciate the speaker. You have done a very good job and we are so happy to have you today. My word will not be a question directly, but I want to maybe an addendum to especially the framework for the last subtopic, framework for strategies that we can use in maintaining our infrastructure. I believe whatever we have to do now, because of the nature of Nigerians, I think we need the carrot approach in everything that we're going to establish. So what I'm thinking is that maybe there is one of the strategies is to make it legalized. I think let's put up a bill or sponsor a bill in National Assembly so that these strategies can be incorporated or sponsored. I think with this, we go a long way in enforcing maintenance in all our infrastructures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's noted. The
to mention. Okay, just to give a response to that. It is noted and it's something which we'll do, but I think as NICE, we also first foremost upskill and develop. Not many of us are handling the heavy civil engineering works. So we don't have, the truth is we don't have capacity. If the government, if we get this to become mandatory, there will be a lot of cracks in the system. We have to build capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now over to Engineer Emeka Hibe.
Sorry, please. Can I just quickly announce that all of us online on this call should please also go over to the YouTube channel. As we speak, this program is also on the YouTube channel so that we can all connect also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my Hensi, sir. Thank you, sir. Engineer Emeka Hibe, unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much, our able national chairman and other distinguished members on this call. please permit me to stand on existing protocol. Firstly, let me appreciate Engineer Eleme for a very excellent presentation today. My question is on the optimal approach to adopting new technologies in maintenance. You mentioned the case of mechanically stabilized wall for bridges, and in that case, for instance, geosynthetics are coming into the space. So my question is, how do you advise we optimally adopt new technologies to effectively maintain existing structure without going through maybe a more expensive approach of outrightly demolition and repeating that particular structure? That's my question, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just quickly spend a minute or a half to address that. New technologies they come out daily, let me just say. And you have to test them. You have to look at what engineering thoughts are behind what supports the efficacy of the technology. Now, in repairing older or failing infrastructure, if that's what you mean by how can we adopt, we must come and own this first. Who is bringing this technology? There must be a framework for the use of those technology in our systems. I wouldn't want to take too much time, but I'll just quickly give 1 minute example. So we're using styrofoam as part of space containment systems. In buildings, we use styrofoam. Bridge abutment, we're using styrofoam. We calculate all the buoyancy and all of that, the weight loss, the weight reduction. But where has it been done before? What has been, we must recognize and develop a guideline. Where I'm going is we must develop a guideline of how, that means we must put together, NICE to say, on the use of, let's say, palm kernel chippings in concrete. NICE should be able to put a paper and say, we have reviewed this, we have carried out a review of different tests, this is the way we can use it. Bamboo I'm not saying bamboo is not good, but I haven't seen anybody written anything to say in our local practice, this is how we can use bamboo for reinforcing. And any geosynthesis, they're very good. Fiber wraps, they're very good. But you have to put a guideline how we want to use it. The owners of these would probably not be the government, but will be bodies like NICE. And we have to sit up to write, how do we use geosynthetics in road surveys and that likes. I hope I was able to do that, Engineer B.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I think we've attended to all ends that were raised. I wouldn't know whether our guest speakers do you have any final notes you want to give to wrap up, sir?
Thank you very much, Engineer Adechumo. And I want to say a big thank you to the National Chairman. And the last slide before my courtesy is the framework for impression strategy. It's what I believe we should put a few groups together, a department, and this committee will have subcommittees in the region because this is across the nation. As I spoke about many things, they're actually mostly what I've had to go through in practice. We need the culture of developing maintenance in our infrastructure is very important. And we must own this part of the system, the ecosystem of inspection of everything that we build, everything that we design. These committees will be able to say, this is how much activities we have been able to empower our people. It would be it will gladden my heart to see the next generation or engineers begin to move into areas like stormwater management, sewage, water supply in estates, and the likes of it. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you so much, able guest speaker, Engineer Uigbe, F9. We appreciate the time you have taken. Indeed, the lecture is a top-notch, and we cannot but appreciate you. It's our custom to usually present the certificates of presentation. Please, I want to call on Engineer Ayinla to help us. Please display the certificates on the screen while I recognize
Sorry, before we have that, can we ask the NC in case if he has something to contribute as our custom, or
yes,
any of the one you may appoint?
NC has spoken.
Okay, if there's any of our PNC or whatever who may just want to cap off the talk today. I've been trying to check whether any of them are still around.
Okay, please, do we have national chairman? You are this time
my prof, sir, I think it's my prof. I think it's to remind.
Sorry, NC is there.
Yes,
NC
my
is on
participant
now.
that the
NC is
okay,
on
sorry.
now. NC is on now, please. And then for the participant, please go to the attendance and fill in the Google attendance. It's there right now, so that you can be entitled to a certificate.
Here.
Yes, so please go there and register. It is all those email you are putting on the chat. Nobody will send anything to that platform. Please fill the form. Thank you so much, sir. NC, sir.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. My special appreciation again goes to Engineer Onoigbe Aileme for a brilliant presentation. And like I said earlier, a lot of questions have been raised. A lot has been raised on our to-do list. What remains is that we begin to develop a process, establish the protocols to begin to do all of these things that are absolutely needful in the development of our infrastructure and building inspection. I can assure you at this meeting night that the Nigerian Institute of Civil Engineers will definitely begin to do a lot of the things that have been stated here. And I can tell you that without mincing words and without attempting to brag, a lot of these things have already been initiated, not just now, but even in the past. I wouldn't want to begin to take our time and list them, but I'm sure that what needs to be done now is for us to entrench it so that it becomes a part of our national discourse going forward, so that the occurrences of building collapse will be seriously mitigated and hopefully eradicated in the nearest future. At this point in time, I would want to end by formally appreciating Engineer Onoigbe Aileme for this brilliant presentation. And I want to say without any fear of contradiction that for those of us in Lagos, we know how instrumental Engineer Aileme has been in the Certified Accreditors Program that the Lagos State government has adopted, which brings in the private sector into the mix for the inspection of buildings and ensuring that building collapse is a thing of the past. And as I speak with you, we are already getting results, thanks to the brilliant and very diligent effort of this distinguished engineer. Thank you so very much. Engineer Dijumo, you have the
Thank you so. Thank you, my sister. So, go ahead, Chairperson, Dr. Grace. Go ahead.
Time for us now to present the certificate of presentation. The NCSA is who will you like to?
Can the guest lecturer please on share so that Engineer Ella can now share that, and then you appoint with the guidance of NC who is presenting this.
Yes, sir. While we are waiting for Engineer Ella to share the certificates, please, distinguished attendees, remember to sign the attendance. The Google form is in less than 2 minutes. You are done.
House in Brussels.
Remember to fill the attendance.
I'm paying 1,002. Yeah. By October. No, it's not cheaper. It was cheaper for me then.
Please let's remember to fill the attendance Google form. It is through the Google form that we are going to get the certificate.
So while we're waiting for the certificate to be displayed, I would want to recognize the presence of one of our very, very senior members, our leader, a teacher, a mentor, someone that a lot of us in practice look up to. Engineer Kunle Adebajo is online. Can he please unmute and say a word to us? I know that he will just be there quiet.
I see the message you said.
For the attendance.
Well, good evening, my national chairman. I truly wanted to be quiet, but thank you so much for noticing me. I will say good evening to everybody. I think we've all had a very wonderful time. My dear brother Leme has done justice to this, and in particular, he's pointed out some of the issues that we really have to consider. It is true that in a lot of cases in Nigeria, we're used to identifying the problems and lamenting, but the solutions always seem to elude us. And I think some of the things he's mentioned here will hopefully get us onto a different trajectory. The honest truth is that we have fallen so far behind, not just in the infrastructure gap deficit, but also even in terms of maintenance of what we have, the very little we have. And there's so much to be done. Unfortunately, you can't just wish it away. You need to actually progressively put things in place. And that starts from capacity building. It starts from giving priority to local content. It starts from doing things with best practice and hopefully reducing all the other nasty aspects of corruption and preferential treatment, which is not deserved. So there's a lot to be done, but I want to commend the speaker that at least is touched so many aspects. And let's hope, because at the end of the day, here in Nigeria, we always tend to have hope, and it's not a bad thing to do. Let's hope that actually there will be a turnaround. I think some people always feel overwhelmed by the whole thing, but in actual fact, it all takes just a step at a time by each person. So if all of us, even certainly we know we're over 100 here because it had to overflow into YouTube. So if all those who are listening are actually making a step, I'm sure we'll start to move in the right direction. Thank you very much to the speaker, distinguished speaker. Thank you to the organizing committee and to the national executive and, of course, the national chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for always having our back, sir. Also on this call, I noticed that a few years ago, we started the bridge inspection project in Lagos. And my team leader at that time, a very distinguished senior colleague, is also on this call. He is my namesake. His name is Engineer Tokumbo Oyenuga. Good evening, sir. Engineer
Good evening,
Oyenuga.
Nancy. Good evening, everybody. It's been nice being here. It's an opportunity to learn. No matter how old you are in the profession, there's always something new to learn. I commend the speaker. He's done a very good job, and I hope it will translate to positive action on our part. I wish us all a very nice weekend. Thank you for the recognition, my NC.
Thank you very much, sir. You're welcome. While we're waiting for the certificate, I'm also see Engineer Sonny Ejeje online. Engineer Ejeje, Sonny Ejeje, past chairman, Apapa branch.
Good evening, Mr. NC. I'm good evening with the other senior colleagues on this call. I listened very rapidly on this, on what Engineer Unoigbe presented, and I think just like what the other senior colleagues said, my Oga Engineer Adebajo, Engineer Tokumbo, I just put this senior Tokumbo, I just spoke now. We keep learning every day. It's an eye opener, like I always say. All these webinars are good eye openers for most of us on the middle senior cadre, so that we'll be thinking back and then be able to even carry on with the young ones that are coming up. That's the key thing for what he said today. What mark are we leaving? We need to carry our young engineers so that they see what has been going on, so that they can begin to tap from what has been done in the past, by the senior colleagues, and they'll be able to move up from there. It's a good one, good presentation. Engineer Unoigbe has always been a good, I've never met him physically, but I know his brother very, very well, very, very well. And he knows me too. So it's a good one. Congratulations, sir, for this nice presentation. And we look forward to seeing you more. Thank you very much. And my NC, kudos to you too.
Thank you so very much. Our time is very fast spent. If the committee does not have the certificate, I would like to take on, I see his absence, Engineer Innocent Simon, 1 minute, and then we will have to close this meeting, please. Okay, the certificate is on. Engineer Innocent Simon, 1 minute, please. Okay, I would want to call on Engineer Kunle Adebajo to please formally present this e-certificate to Engineer Aileme Unoigbe. And I'm sure that the physical copy will be presented later. Engineer Kunle Adebajo, please.
Thank you very much. It's a delight and an honor on behalf of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers to present this certificate. It really is a certificate of appreciation because we know what it takes to come up and not just share what you know, but also research and prepare such a paper. So it is very much appreciated, and I can see from comments that people would love to get a copy of this and also watch the video over and over again. So, Engineer Aileme Unoigbe. FNSC, FNICE. I am giving you this, I'm awarding this on behalf of, or handing it over on behalf of the Institution of Civil Engineers, this certificate of appreciation for sharing your invaluable knowledge with members of NICE at this 28th Professional Development Lecture on this day, 28th, which is a good coincidence, the 28th lecture on the 28th of June. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. And well received.
Thank you so very much, Engineer Onwegbe Aileme. I would want to hand over to the chairman of the committee, Engineer Dr. Grace Amushon, as we close this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my NC, sir. And deep appreciation to our guest speaker once again, and everyone, past national chairman, leaders, who are also always in support of Professional Development Committee. We appreciate your presence at this meeting, the technical 28th Professional Development and Technical Series. Thank you for your time. My NC, sir, with your permission, I want to ask for someone to move for adjournment so that we can draw this technical.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So please, from the house, may I ask for someone to move for adjournment of this 28th Professional Development Lecture Series till the next 2 weeks when we converge for another section.
Hi, Engineer Tajudeen Adeyemi Hamzat, Vice Chairman NICE, Oyo State Chapter, Ibadan Chapter. So move.
Seconder, please.
Engineer Itagene Odo.
Okay. Engineer Itagene Odo.
Yes, I'm seconding. Yes, please. Good evening, everyone. Yes, sir.
Please, good evening, everyone. Please kindly engage with us on YouTube. The link has been shared again. Please subscribe to NICE YouTube channel so that.
Can you now and put it in the chat?
Yes, sir. It's on the chat box, sir.
Thank you very much. So let's go to the chat box and have it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Also share the national WhatsApp group number in the chat box so that all of us can. Thank you.
Remember to fill the attendance register before you as well. So as we draw this to a close, please may I request Engineer Abdurrahman Musa to lead us in the close prayer by leading us to recite third stanza of the national anthem. Engineer Abdurrahman Musa, are you there? Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You lead us to recite third stanza of the national anthem. Go ahead, please.
Now we all just mute. Let all of us unmute and take the third stanza of the national anthem as displayed.
Oh God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation
where no man
is oppressed, with peace and plenty. Nigeria may be blessed.
May be blessed.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, our NC.
Thank you all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, NC. Thank you, Executive Secretary. Thank you, Dr. Grace.
Thank you, NC.
Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you all. Bye.
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 Engineer, bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye from
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Engineer Rahim, bye.
Bye.
Engineer Rugbade, bye.
Bye. I'm joining you here live and direct from the office. Bye.
Thank you.